There's a silence inside you that no one else seems to hear. A heaviness in your chest that you've carried for so long. It's fused with your identity. You wake up most days with a question pulsing quietly beneath your skin. Why does it feel like I'm broken? Like something inside you shattered a long time ago, and instead of healing, the world just kept moving. And somehow, everyone else seemed to move with it, smiling, laughing, fitting in while you stood still, holding the weight of something no one else could name. If that feeling has haunted you, if it's ever made you question your worth, your sanity, or your very existence, you need to hear this. You are not broken. You are being initiated. And if it feels like your soul has been cracked open, it's because you are a dark chosen one, and this is how we awaken. You see, the mistake most people make is assuming that awakening begins with light, that we suddenly feel peace, joy, clarity. But that's not how it starts for us. For the dark chosen ones, it begins with collapse, with pain, with feeling like everything we thought we were is falling apart. Because we're not being called to improve who we were, we're being called to remember who we are beneath the programming. And that remembrance can't happen until everything false is shattered. So if you feel broken inside, it's not because you failed. It's because you've stepped into a spiritual fire that burns away illusion. And only the strongest souls are chosen to walk through that flame. We don't talk about this enough. We talk about manifestation, about raising your vibration, about living your purpose. But none of that matters if we don't address the initiation through pain. Because let's be honest, before we ever found purpose, we found emptiness. Before we ever found power, we found powerlessness. Before we ever felt chosen, we felt forsaken. And it's that journey, the descent into darkness, the collapse of identity, the ache in the soul that makes us who we are. Not because the pain defines us, but because it refines us. It strips us of everything that isn't real until the only thing left is truth. And that truth, it's not always pretty, but it's holy. Think back. How many times have you been cracked open by life? How many nights have you cried without knowing why?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
How many times have you felt like no one understood what you were carrying, even when you couldn't explain it yourself? That's not weakness. That's capacity. That's what it means to be a vessel for transformation. Because only those who feel deeply, who break deeply, can hold the depth of remembrance that this planet is starving for. We are not here to live surface lives. We are here to feel the collective pain, transmute it through our bodies, and turn it into codes of awakening. That's not a metaphor. That's alchemy. That's the sacred technology of the dark chosen ones. But here's the part that breaks my heart: we're never told that. We're told we're too much, too sensitive, too chaotic, too intense. We're told to get over it and to fit in, to be normal. But what they don't understand is that our sensitivity is not dysfunction, it's data. It's how we read the field. It's how we track what others bury. It's how we disrupt the matrix, not through protest, but through presence. And that presence, it's forged in fire. It's born in the moments when we feel like we're losing everything. Because those moments are not the end. They are the thresholds, the doorways into a deeper self we never knew existed. Let me ask you something now, something only your soul can answer. What if the parts of you that feel the most broken are actually the parts of you that were never meant to survive? What if those cracks you've been trying to seal are the very openings through which your light is meant to pour? What if the pain was never the punishment but the portal? Sit with that. Because the moment you stop trying to fix yourself and start feeling yourself, you begin to shift. You begin to access the wisdom beneath the wound, the truth beneath the trauma. And that's where your power lives. You are not here to heal so you can return to who you were. You are here to evolve into who you were always meant to be. And that evolution doesn't happen in the light. It happens in the dark, in the silence, in the moments when you feel like you're breaking, but something ancient inside you whispers, keep going. That whisper, that's your soul. That's your guide. That's the part of you that remembers even when your mind forgets. And it's that remembering that makes you chosen not because you're special, but because you're available. Available to walk where others run. Available to feel what others numb. Available to hold truth that others deny. And when you start living from that remembrance, everything changes. You stop apologizing for your depth. You stop hiding your pain. You stop pretending to be okay just to make others comfortable. Instead, you start honoring your shadow. You start listening to your grief. You start trusting your inner chaos not as something to fix, but as something to follow. Because your chaos is not the enemy. It's the compass. It's guiding you back to the parts of yourself that were buried beneath expectation, conditioning, performance. And when you reclaim those parts, you begin to access a version of yourself that is undeniable. This is where the real work begins. Not in becoming something new, but in remembering what you've always been underneath the noise. You are not broken. You are breaking open. You are not lost. You are being rerouted. You are not behind. You are right on time. And the more you lean into that truth, the more you begin to see your pain not as a problem but as a passage, in a sacred doorway into a deeper dimension of wisdom that no one can teach, because it can only be lived. You came here not to be normal, but to be necessary. And your necessity doesn't come from how perfect you are. It comes from how honest you are. Honest about your rage. Honest about your sorrow. Honest about the parts of you that still ache. Because that honesty, that raw, unfiltered, unapologetic truth, that's what makes you magnetic. Not in a flashy way, but in a soul recognition way. When people feel you, really feel you, they remember something they forgot they were. And that remembrance, that's the ripple effect that shifts timelines. So if you've ever felt broken good, that means you're being prepared. That means your soul is clearing out everything that cannot hold the frequency of who you're becoming. That means the old is dying and the real you is rising. And when that you rises clear, raw, radiant, not because you're fixed, but because you're fully yourself, you become unstoppable. Not because you're above the pain, but because you've become one with it. This is the path of the dark chosen ones. We are not here to avoid the darkness. We are here to alchemize it. And if it hurts, if it's heavy, if it feels like too much, it's because you were built to carry codes that most people never touch. And now, it's time to stop hiding those codes. It's time to stop pretending you're fine. It's time to own your fire, because your fire is the frequency that burns away illusion. And that frequency? That's what you are here to embody. The pain was the portal, how dark chosen ones transmute trauma into divine power. There's a moment in the life of every dark chosen one when you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" And you begin to ask, "What is this trying to awaken in me?" It's a sacred pivot point, a quiet turning of the soul. For some, it happens in the deepest grief. For others, in the stillness after the storm. But for all of us, it arrives like a whisper that echoes through every cell of our body, a whisper that says this pain is not the end, it's the beginning. Because the truth is, we are not here to escape the wounds. We are here to walk through them, to meet them fully, to speak with their ghosts and drink the medicine hidden inside their screams. We are not here to bypass the darkness. We are here to become the ones who bring the light into it, not to kill the dark, but to illuminate what was hidden by it. That's why we were chosen. Not because we were the strongest, the smartest, or the most prepared, but because we were willing to hold what others could not. And that willingness, that soul-level agreement, is what made us vessels of divine power. When you begin to transmute your pain, something extraordinary happens. Your trauma is no longer just something that happened to you, it becomes a language that your soul speaks fluently. You begin to see how every wound carved a space inside you for wisdom to land. You begin to understand that your scars are not evidence of defeat, but portals of transmission. Each one a doorway to a deeper version of yourself. And when you stop trying to heal just to feel better, and instead begin to alchemize to become whole, you shift from survivor to source. You stop living in reaction to life and begin to live in response to your calling. But this kind of transmutation doesn't happen in theory. It doesn't happen in books or workshops or well-lit yoga studios. It happens in the silence of your own being. It happens when you sit with the parts of yourself you've spent years avoiding. It happens when you make eye contact with the pain you thought would kill you and realize it wasn't here to destroy you. It was here to deliver you. Deliver you into your truth. Deliver you into your power. Deliver you into a version of yourself that only pain could awaken. That's the secret that no one tells you. Pain is not a punishment. Pain is a portal, and only those brave enough to walk through it will ever access the codes it carries. Ask yourself this, and not lightly, what if the thing you've been trying to forget is the very thing your soul came here to integrate? What if the heartbreak, the betrayal, the abandonment, the shame, what if none of it was random? What if every moment of agony was a line of code in the divine algorithm of your becoming? What if your darkness is not your flaw, but your frequency? What if the parts you've been taught to hide are the exact keys you need to unlock your new reality? That's not poetic, that's energetic law. Because when you stop resisting what hurt you and you start listening to what it taught you, you begin to embody what most people spend lifetimes avoiding: real, embodied, spiritual power. This power is not about dominance. It's not about control. It's not about being above pain. It's about being so deeply inside your truth that nothing can manipulate you again. You become immune to illusion. You become allergic to inauthenticity. You become a mirror so clear, so exact, that people either rise to meet you or run from the reflection. And either way, you stop taking it personally because you know your presence is not here to be liked. It's here to be liberating. You're no longer trying to be digestible. You're trying to be undeniably real. And realness is the rarest vibration on this planet right now. When you live from this place, your life stops being about healing and becomes a living transmission. You don't need to tell your story to prove your worth. You are the story. You don't need to explain your pain to be seen. You radiate the frequency of someone who has walked through fire and returned with sacred data. People feel it in your silence. They feel it in your eyes. They feel it in your boundaries, your softness, your unshakable clarity. You're no longer seeking safety outside of yourself because you've become your own sanctuary. Do you feel that? That's what it means to transmute pain into divinity. But transmutation is a choice. Every day, every moment. You don't get to avoid your shadow and still expect to access your power. You don't get to numb the grief and still expect to feel true joy. You don't get to bypass the wound and expect to carry wisdom. You have to go into the raw, the messy, the tender, into the places that still ache, into the memories that still sting, and not to relive them but to reclaim them, because the pain is just the residue. The real treasure is beneath it, and if you're brave enough, patient enough, present enough, you'll find the gold of self-ownership, the gold of radical compassion, the gold of embodied remembrance. Let me say this clearly: you are not behind. You are not weak. You are not damaged. You are deep, and depth takes time. Integration takes time. Embodiment takes time. The world will try to rush you. It will try to sell you shortcuts. But don't fall for it. You're not here to heal fast. You're here to heal true. And true healing doesn't look like perfection. It looks like presence. It looks like coming home to yourself over and over again, even when you feel unworthy, even when you feel like a mess, even when you feel like giving up. Especially then. Because those are the moments when the old you is falling apart and the real you is coming online. You are a walking transmission, a breathing code, a living portal. And everything you've been through, every heartbreak, every trauma, every breakdown, it has all been preparing you to hold a vibration that cannot be faked, copied, or stolen. That vibration is yours. And it's time to stop hiding it. It's time to stop waiting for permission. It's time to stop negotiating with fear. You're not here to be palatable. You're here to be potent. And your potency was refined in the very pain you've been trying to escape. So what if you stopped seeing your pain as something to fix and started seeing it as a rite of passage? What if you wear it not as a wound, but as a badge of frequency? What if you stopped apologizing for who you've become in the fire and started walking as the flame itself? That's what this moment is asking of you. Not to be more healed, but to be more real, to let your pain become your prayer, to let your hurt become your howling, to let your silence become your sermon. Because when you do, when you finally stand in the full spectrum of your truth, you don't just shift yourself. You shift reality. This is what the dark chosen ones came here to do. We came not to escape the pain, but to alchemize it. Not to avoid the shadow, but to dance with it. Not to be saved, but to become the ones who remember what others forgot. And if you feel broken, good. That means you're ready. That means your heart is open. That means the old is dying and the new is rising through you. The rebirth of the real, why your pain was preparing you to be the portal others will walk through. There comes a moment in every dark chosen one's journey when the pain no longer defines you, it refines you. When the echoes of your past no longer haunt you, they hallow you. When you look at the brokenness you once tried to hide and realize it has become the very architecture of your sacred presence. That moment is not loud. It's not dramatic. It's not always visible to the world. But it's real. It's holy. It's the moment you exhale the version of yourself you built for survival and inhale the version of yourself that was always waiting on the other side of the fire. This is the rebirth of the real, not the polished, curated version of healed, but the raw, unfiltered, unshakable power of a soul who has walked through death and still chooses to live wide open. That's you now. That's what your pain has been preparing you for, not to be inspirational, not to be palatable, but to be a living portal through which others remember what it means to come home to themselves. Because here's the truth that no one talks about: the world is not saved by those who are perfect. It is saved by those who are present, those who have touched their own abyss and didn't abandon themselves. Those who have felt the full weight of grief, rage, shame, and despair and still chose to stay open. That kind of person becomes a bridge, a doorway, a walking sacred space. And not because they have all the answers, but because they embody the truth that healing is possible. If you carry that kind of depth, that kind of frequency, that kind of stillness in the storm, then you are not broken. You are becoming the place where others find their way back to wholeness. But let me be clear, this isn't about becoming a savior. This isn't about fixing others. This is about being so deeply anchored in your own reclamation that your very presence becomes a map. A map not written in language, but in energy. In the way you breathe, in the way you listen, in the way you hold someone's truth without flinching, in the way your eyes say, "I've been there too, and I'm still here." That kind of presence, it can't be taught, it can't be faked, it can only be forged. And you have been forged, beloved, not because life was cruel, but because your soul volunteered to be a conduit for something so much bigger than comfort. You see, the dark chosen ones don't come to the planet with a clear path. We come with a coded one, hidden beneath the trauma, hidden beneath the pain, hidden beneath the chaos. And only when we've walked through the darkest corridors of our own psyche do those codes begin to activate. The code of clarity, of sovereignty, full of truth, of compassion that isn't performance but presence. These codes don't make us better than anyone else, but they do make us responsible, because once you carry that kind of frequency, you can no longer pretend you're just here to survive. You're here to transmit. Not through your words, but through your walk. So the question becomes, are you ready to stop hiding? Not because you're fully healed, but because you're finally real. Are you ready to stop waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect version of yourself, the perfect external sign, and start living as the sign? Are you ready to let your life become the sermon, the signal, the sacred disruption that reminds others they're not alone? Because that's what your pain prepared you for. That's what your journey has been about all along. not to destroy you, but to distill you into the clearest, rawest, most radiant version of who you actually are beneath the layers of programming, protection, and pretending. And when you live from that place, everything changes. Not because you force it, but because you embody a vibration that reorganizes reality. People feel it. Systems feel it. The field feels it. You stop chasing alignment and start broadcasting it. You stop trying to fit in and start becoming the gravitational field that pulls others into truth. You stop trying to be chosen, and you start walking like the one who already knows they are. Because being chosen isn't about being special. It's about being available. Available to feel what others won't. Available to walk where others hide. Available to embody what others only talk about. And yes, it requires everything. It requires grief. It requires surrender. It requires dying to who you thought you were over and over again. But what you get in return is everything real. Real connection. Real clarity. Real freedom. Real peace, not because life is easy, but because you are no longer resisting your own power. You are no longer outsourcing your worth. You are no longer waiting for the world to validate what your soul has already confirmed. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be unmistakably you. Even if it costs you the life you thought you wanted. Because what rises in its place is not just a new life, it's a new world. We are the architects of that world, the grid holders, the code carriers, the timeline shifters. Not because we asked for it, but because we said yes to the pain. We said yes to the descent. We said yes to the breaking, the burning, the becoming. And now, on the other side of that yes, we are no longer waiting for someone to save us. We have become the ones we were waiting for. And that is the most powerful kind of human. Not the one who has never been broken, but the one who knows how to rebuild from truth. So I ask you now, with all the love and power in my being, what are you still hiding that was actually meant to heal the world? What part of your pain are you still ashamed of when it was the initiation into your sacred purpose? What would happen if you stopped pretending and started transmitting not the polished version, but the present one? That version of you? That's the one who will shift the planet. Not because they're perfect, but because they're real. This is your moment. This is your emergence. Not into a role, but into resonance, into the exact frequency your soul encoded into your bones before you ever took your first breath. You didn't come here to be everything for everyone. You came here to be everything that only you can be. And your pain? It was the portal to that becoming. It was never here to trap you. It was here to train you, to teach you how to stand in your own fire and not flinch. Now you are the fire, and the world needs your flame not to burn it down, but to light the way home. This is why you were chosen. This is who you are. Now go and live like it.